Alright, welcome to the second video for week 2 for English 123. We're going to continue our discussion on research. We're going to focus a little more on how to conduct research, how to find the sources that we need to effectively support our argument, our claim, the evidence we need from the scholarly sources that we found in the databases. How do we find that? It's going to want to start out with just a little side note here before we get started. I wanted to just emphasize briefly the relationship between research and writing. As I said in the last video, they both go together. They're both foundational, and I don't want to overemphasize that. But effective writing cannot redeem underdeveloped research. What I mean by that is if your writing, say, is really well, you've written a paper that's really well written in terms of the communication, the clarity, it's all there, but the research maybe is not developed as it should. Perhaps maybe the sources that have been chosen maybe aren't as credible as they should be. Maybe you have a Wikipedia source in there, maybe a CNN or Fox News, or some kind of .com news site, perhaps. Maybe there's some some web-based .com sources in there that are not as credible as they should be. The writing cannot really redeem the underdeveloped research. It can't bring up that research and make it credible. In a sense, you cannot convince your reader that your research is credible just because your writing is good or done well or effective. So I just want to make that point that the writing and the research, they go together. They work together. They function together. One cannot be one cannot bring up the other, I should say. Underdeveloped research will undermine effective writing, good writing. So I guess the rule, or maybe a way to look at it, is credible research plus effective writing really equals a good paper. Okay, so they both go together. So just keep that in mind as you're researching with the sources that you're using and how you're going to incorporate them in the paper. Those are all very important things to be considered. So anyway, moving on to the real point of this video is really how to conduct research, how to find sources, how do you get started, what do we do? Well, you've heard me say database a lot, you've heard me say journal a lot. So what does that mean? Well, the database, there are databases, I should say. There's multiple different database subscriptions that the library subscribes to based on disciplines. So in other words, there's there's a psychology, there's different various psychology databases, there's different various databases for English literature, there's various databases for nursing, engineering, social sciences, really any different discipline, there's going to be specific databases for those. There are some, however, that are more general. As I provided examples, Academic Search Premier is one that is very general. It's an interdisciplinary, multi-subject. It's all kind of a catch-all general database that pulls from other databases. Then there's the JSTOR, J-S-T-O-R, if you remember. That is also general to a degree in the humanities, I believe, maybe in the social sciences, that has various disciplines in there as well. A great source that you can be used. And then there's what's called OneSearch. Now, OneSearch is literally one search for everything. The thing with that, though, is it can be a bit overwhelming because a OneSearch database can bring up 100,000 articles. So you want to be very specific in your key search strategy. So just like any other online search, there's parameters that you can set, whether it's a date range, whether it's a key term, and you can set up conditions for those key terms where it's going to contain this word and this word, or it can exclude. You can set that up for conditions, like it must have whatever key term you're using in addition to other key terms as well, and you can order that in a certain criteria. So be sure to use those search criterias when you're using the databases. So you can start by picking the particular discipline that you're in, or the particular discipline you're going to be working with for your topic or your subject. That is an option for you. You can search in a more general search database, as I've provided those three. But what you want to keep in mind is you want to start from the general and work to the specific. I think that's the way you're going to be able to kind of widen your net and then be able to kind of pick through it a bit. So what is a common method, common strategy, is to begin by just a Google search on maybe your subject or maybe a key term out of your claim, or maybe even your claim itself. So if you're, say for instance, going to be using the example I gave in the last video, gun control and open carry permits, legal permits, you may Google open carry, you may Google open carry permit, you may Google gun control, just to see what the conversation is about gun control. Maybe the Second Amendment you can look up. So those are some examples. You start broad, maybe just in a Google search. You're going to get a lot of information, of course, but you might find particular blogs, you might find particular various institutions that may be published on .com that are not necessarily subscription scholarly based, but they're more just consumer related, free information. You may try Wikipedia. You don't want to use Wikipedia in your paper, of course. It's not a credible source, but it can be useful. It can provide you some encyclopedic information that can direct you to further key search terms. So start broad and then work your way down and narrow it more specific. If you remember, I also suggested trying Gale Gale Reference Library, I think it is. That's sort of a Wikipedia type database that's more encyclopedic. There's encyclopedic critical articles in there that you can use. It's very user-friendly, very informative, very general, but it's also quotable. It's scholarly, so you can use it in your sources. So you may look at that and then begin to narrow down based on what you find. So be looking for key terms, key phrases, key concepts. And so though those are all different things, phrases, terms, concepts, those are going to direct you through, to find more detail about what you're arguing. Look for key researchers. Maybe there's a specific leading researcher within that field regarding your particular topic. That would be prevalent in the sciences, very likely. There's likely maybe a grouping of key researchers, maybe a research team or a research committee. Maybe there's an entire university or a department within a university that's really known, that they're really the cutting edge of research in that field. So it's worth finding out who those key leading researchers are, and begin to look for their articles and look for what their work is and what they're saying. Further, maybe key events. If it's something historical that you're going to be researching, it's always good to maybe look up general events that took place, maybe within the context, the history, the historical context that surrounds your particular claim or your subject. Gun control, there's a historical context to that. There's a constitutional context to that. There's a current context to that. So there's all kinds of events that can surround that. So be aware. Further, there are key figures within your topic likely. Um, Not necessarily, they may be different than key researchers. They could be, um, if it's a criminal justice type thing, maybe there's key criminal, a key criminal that may pertain to a particular topic, or a key victim, perhaps. If it's something, some kind of criminal justice topic you may be pursuing. It's hard to be hypothetical because there's just so many variables to consider when you have a research class like this, where everyone could be dealing in different particular subjects. So, but yeah, so there may be a key figure, and that historical figure, if you're going to be something constitutional, or something on, maybe president, something about the president, maybe about a prior president, a prior administration. Say you're arguing one administration has been more effective in this particular area than this administration. Well, those administrations are going to have key figures. And then there may be key researchers that have researched the different historical aspects of those particular administrations. So you can see how those kind of correlate. Also, key dates. You can search key dates. That might be one of the lesser key terms, but dates are always important, so keep that in mind. Scientific research, dates are important. So something that happened, 100 years ago may be historically important, but it may not necessarily be relevant now. How something was treated 50 years ago may be relevant to your historical context, but it's not necessarily relevant to how it's being treated today. So dates are important, or can be important. So as you are, searching the databases through the Annie Gabriel Library, keep in mind that one article can lead to the next. So you find one article, you say maybe it's the golden article. It's exactly what you want to argue. It just supports exactly what you want to say perfectly. Well, 1 out of 10, you need 10 articles. So that's only one. So where are you going to find those other 9? You may perhaps find key terms and key researchers, key events, key figures, key phrases in that article that would lead you to another article. Maybe they're quoting some other researcher, and you think, well, hey, I'm going to maybe look into that article that's being quoted, or that researcher that's being mentioned here, or that term. Oh, I like that term. That's a good term. I think that's going to be important for me to know, and it's going to provide further information for me. So be aware of that. One article can lead to the next. So be aware of the bibliographies, the literature reviews, the works cited pages that may come with these articles that you're going to be reading. Use them. They will definitely provide you necessary information to expand your research. A good rule of thumb, if you need 10 articles, search for 15, perhaps 20, and then eliminate them down. You won't utilize all those 20, of course, but you'll need 10, but you can eliminate at least half of them. Some of them just probably will seem like they're going to work in the beginning, and maybe they won't work later on. So again, just allow and look for and be aware that one article can lead to the next, and then expand your research library. Further, the process is really going to be just sifting through these databases, sifting through these searches, trying to find the articles and the books that you need. It may feel like you're just kind of reaching in the dark, not really knowing what exactly you're looking for, but as you begin to collect data, you will begin to build traction. Once you find one article, then you'll likely find the second article, then you'll likely find the third article, and it's just so on and so forth. And it's kind of a fight. You have to be persistent. You have to keep moving. You have to remain positive that you're going to find what you need. And as I said in the last video, again, if you get to a point where you're stuck and it's causing you, you're stressing and you're feeling, oh no, what am I going to do? I can't find what I need. The librarians are there. Okay, remember that. Let me know. I can help you as well. I can direct you as best I can, and if necessary, point you to the librarians. They're going to help you. But yeah, so you're going to sift through these databases, searching, reading, trying to find what you need. Be sure to utilize the abstracts if they're provided. If you find a good 200-300 word abstract in the very first page of the article, read it. It's going to give you, like if it's written in APA, it's going to give you the key terms, the key points of that article, and it's going to help you know, is this what I need? So if it's an APA article, that's going to give you exactly what you need. And if you don't find it in the abstract, then just move on and try to look for another article. But yes, read abstracts, read summaries if they're available, skim the articles. Skim only maybe the first 4 or 5 pages. If you're not finding anything, maybe it's not the right article to use. Some of these articles can be 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 pages. So be aware of the longer, generally speaking, the longer the article, the more complex, the more in-depth, and the more tenacious you might need to be to get through that article. But if it's got the information you need, that's fine. But if it doesn't, then know when to, cut it loose and keep looking for something else. So skim read, skim read, skim read. That's going to be an important skill for you through your research process. Once you find these articles, a good idea is to annotate them, which means basically underline, circle, take notes, write on them. If you can print them out and do that. Or if you can download the PDF, that works too. Some of the PDFs you can use the highlighting tool or the underline tool. You can write notes directly on the PDF if that particular PDF is set up for that. Definitely do that. You may also consider starting a research database. If you're familiar with Excel, you can always set up an Excel spreadsheet. If you know the tabs along the bottom edge, you can set up for your different sources. Each one of those pages can be for a different source, and then you can just start cut and pasting your sources or your quotes into the cells. You can expand the cells and make it fit just right, and then you can also have a column there for any notes or any kind of other annotations you might make. If you don't want to use this Excel spreadsheet, you can just use a regular Word document. You can just cut and paste your quotes or your quotable information into a Word document, maybe have headings for each of your sources. That way it doesn't all get mixed together, or provide the works cited citation first, and then be sure to provide your page numbers for each of your quotes. But that's a good way. You want to begin to think about how you can organize the information that you're going to be acquiring from these sources. So again, it's sifting through the information, doing searches based on key terms, key concepts, key researchers, key figures, key dates, letting one article maybe direct you to the next article, using those bibliographies and works cited to guide you, and then it'll just continue to work along and lead you through the process. So then it's just a matter of organizing that information and putting it in a collective document, I would say, Word or Excel, for easy access to where you can just go right to it and pull it out when you need it. So that's just kind of a strategy that you can use. This is one process. You can adapt this to fit your own personality, your own strengths, whatever your own learning style is. Feel free to adapt it to however you want it to better suit you. This is just one way to do it. But again, if you need help, need clarification, if there's anything I can explain further for you and elaborate on, please let me know. Email me anytime. All right, so we're going to leave it there until our next video for next week. And good luck researching. Let me know how things are going. Keep me posted. All right.